All right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. Doug, you trying to step on my toes?
I was. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Welcome, episode 61, and we are in a studio outside today, which is nice.
That's what I started to say, but you go ahead. You're doing a good job.
We're trying to beat the rain here. We got a few sprinkles, so we're going to hope this 30 minutes goes quick. But we're here at Springfield Hatchery talking with Mr. Roger Bitz today. Bitz. I'm sorry, and it's going to be a fun show.
It is. We got somebody else we're going to introduce in just a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get to all that. We got to talk a little bit of current events. And by the way, Springfield Hatchery is in Springfield, Tennessee.
Exactly.
Which is in Robertson County, in Middle Tennessee. But fish go all over the place, and we're going to get into all that.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit current events, though.
Been a lot going on.
There has been. I wanted to bring up that turkey. We're still in turkey season. This has been our era of state records the last couple of years on stuff. Mm-hmm. And state records are fun. I mean, if I went out and caught a 5-pound bass, it might not be what Gabe Keene caught, but it's a big fish. It's a trophy to me.
I think we know you're not going to catch it. Well, never mind. We won't go there.
Put them all together, maybe, on a good day. Anyway, but anyhow, we had another state record pending. It might,
Possibly.
And it's on a wild turkey. A young man named Cord Maddox.
Yes.
Over in Henry County, which is west of us. It's what we would call in our Region 1 or West Tennessee, but it's not that far from the mid-state.
Right.
And it's they use the formula from the NWTF to figure out all this. It has something to do with the length of the beard multiplied by 2 and the length of the spurs multiplied by 8 or something like that, and the pound of the weight of the bird, and then all that added up gives you the numbers that they use. And Cord's bird was 89.562 or something like that.
Just barely beating the record.
It's just barely. I'm talking about it would be a photo finish if it was a race.
Yeah.
But we're going to keep an eye on it. We put it out on Facebook. It got a lot of social media interest, and people just love that stuff.
Pretty cool.
It is. And he's a nice young man. He's another guy. It's just a young guy who loves to hunt and fish. He's very good at it, and I hope it stands for him.
And
so just another
if
record.
you want to try to beat his record or try to top that one, you only got a few more weeks to do it.
Better hurry.
Season's over May 14th, I think, is the last day of the season this year.
Sounds right. But I always look at the guy. But yeah, I think I was talking to Cord. He had already bagged out, and this was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So he's really good. He's helping other people hunt now, which a lot of folks do. Once they get their 4 birds out of the way, they go do that. I also want to remind everyone that the agency is getting together with the commission. That happened. Actually, it's happening this week.
Right.
But what's going to happen is they'll discuss recommendations for the coming season year, and then the next month in May, we're all going to be down at Bryan College in Dayton, Tennessee.
And
setting
they're
the
off
seasons.
Chickamauga.
Chickamauga. I know what you're hinting at. Anyway, they'll be setting the seasons down there then. So you'll have a month to think about it, to let the folks know what you think about what's being done. And no, we don't know what all is going to be proposed yet. I've been in on some discussions listening to our guys, but discussions are one thing. What gets recommended is totally sometimes something else.
Right. And if you watched the show last week or listened to it, we had Jason Henniger on, and he talked about the comment period for fish. That's already passed, but you'll have another comment period after they present what the Fisheries Division is looking for the next season. So that's later on in the year, but you've missed that comment period if you hadn't.
And they do. We had comments that the wildlife had comments stuff that they were talking about the other day when they were meeting about what they're going to present, and a lot of it was from comments. And do you pursue those comments? And some get taken, some do, some don't.
Well, they all get looked at.
They all get looked at, every one of them.
Yep.
I think there were 600. I think I heard Mark Gullen, chief of our wildlife, say they had 600 and something comments this year.
Wow.
From hunters. So that's a lot of comments, and they go through every one of them.
Right.
They get emailed to them. One other thing, if you are female or if you know a female and they want to get involved with the outdoors and learn a little bit, Beyond the Outdoor Women Workshop, they're taking applications from now. It's on our website. Go to our newsroom, application link out there, and get involved in the outdoors.
TNWildlife.org.
TNWildlife.org. And real quick, let's introduce Zach over here. We got extra help today. Zach Patton's with us of Lebanon High School, and push that over there and let me say hey to Zach real quick.
Hello.
Hey, Zach, tell us what you're doing at Lebanon High School and what's your future.
I'm Zach Patton. I'm from Lebanon High School. I'm here today job shadowing Mr. Jason, Mr. Doug here. I'm very happy to be here. I'm hoping to go into a journalism field, media field, something like this. So I want to thank y'all for letting me come out today. Hope I enjoy it. We're going to have a fun day.
You did a video with us a year or so ago helping us get out to be safe on the water.
We're at Tennessee.
Y'all did a great job.
I appreciate it.
All
Had
right.
fun.
Well, tell all the youngsters at Lebanon High School we said hello.
I will. Thank you.
All right. Good luck with your career, Zach.
Thank you.
All right. All right.
I'm glad he's pushing the buttons today.
Yeah, they may be done really well today.
And this wouldn't have got set up if he hadn't have been here, because you were off running looking at fish or something. I couldn't get any help out of you.
I didn't see any yesterday, so I was going to look here. All right.
Thanks, Zach.
Let's introduce Roger. Roger Bitz is the manager of Springfield Hatchery. Mark Cook, by the way, also has been working here for a long time. You might see Mark in the background. He does great work. He and Roger have this whole operation to themselves, Roger, and it's a tough job.
That's right.
When we were pulling in, Roger lives on the property, and Zach says, do all of the managers of hatcheries live on property? Do all of them have to live on the property?
Yes, there has to be a manager on site on all of our hatcheries.
What's the reason for that?
Well, you eat, breathe, and sleep this when it's happening, and especially during the production season now. I mean, like we just finished up our sauger production, and when those females, when it's time to spawn them, whether it be 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the morning, you got to do it.
They're not going to wait on you.
You're on the fish's time, not your own.
I was telling Zach, too, that there's also times where y'all might get a rain event or something may happen, lack of oxygen might occur in the ponds, and you got to be ready to go.
Absolutely. Many a time I've been out there at midnight putting an aerator in or a paddle wheel or something like that.
Did you ever think, why am I doing this?
Well, it has its moments, but, I enjoy it.
Yeah, all right, Roger. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from East Tennessee, Campbell County area.
And where did you get your degree that you could come out and work on a fish hatchery?
I got my degree at Tennessee Tech.
Okay.
Yep.
In what?
It's in wildlife, major in fisheries.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
A good school. A lot of our folks come from that school.
Yeah. Yep.
And a lot of come from where's Zach's going. He's going to go to UT, and we get a lot of our folks out of there at wildlife schools. If folks ever want to know where to do wildlife degrees, there's 3 or 4 good colleges.
Pretty much it. UT Martin is another good one.
UT Martin and Lincoln Memorial University, way over in East Tennessee.
Yeah, I think Austin P has a program too now, if I'm not mistaken. So
no, sounds right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Roger. What does a hatchery worker just in a broad sense? What does the job entail?
Well, here we're what you call a warm water hatchery, so we don't do trout. That's considered a cold water. Here we do walleye, sauger. We do some, of course, the Florida strain largemouth, black-nosed crappie. Occasionally we do some brim. There's about 7 to 10 different species that we do, but depending on the species, like for example, with sauger and walleye, we get the brood, we bring them in the building, we induce them with a hormone, and we strip spawn the fish. And then when we do that, we incubate the eggs inside, and eggs hatch out in the fry. We put the fry in our troughs, rear them out until they're ready to go in our ponds. That's what you call intensive culture. Other species like black-nosed crappie, we just put the brood in the pond, let them do their thing, and then in the fall we come in and harvest them. So that's a less intensive culture. So depending on the species, there's a lot more steps involved with some of these than others. But basically my job, I'm a fish farmer. From start to finish, I try to bring the parents in the case of walleye and sauger, and make the babies and let them grow up in the ponds until they become stockable size fish.
When we got here today, on this day, you were inside with a technician from Humboldt Hatchery, and y'all were working on smallmouth, and we got some video we'll put out on Facebook of Roger talking to us about that. Smallmouth is not something I normally hear being raised in our hatcheries, our warm water hatcheries. Does that happen a lot?
Not a lot. Typically bass take care of themselves in a reservoir, but there's a few requests and allocations that are given to us, and that's part of my job as the reservoir biologist. They go out and they make their yearly assessments, and then they come to us before the production season and say, hey, here's my order. So it's my job to try to meet that order, but there's not a whole lot of requests for smallmouth, and I think these were actually requested for Center Hill. That's the one request that rings a bell in my head.
And Center Hills, it's over in Middle Tennessee too, kind of.
Yeah, it's over there by Cookeville, Tennessee Tech area. But what I wanted to try to do, the reason I did them this way is, in the past when there was a smallmouth request, is they'd put the brood in the pond, and just like we would our black-nosed crappie, you just put the brood in the pond, let them do their thing, and then 40 days, whatever the production period is, whenever they get ready, they pull the pond and the brood out, and you get these just variable results with pond spawn and smallmouth. You may put the same amount of brood in one year and have 5,000 fingerlings, and then you may come back another year and have 50,000 fingerlings. So what I tried to do was just, like I mentioned earlier, with it, bring intensive culture into it. And it had been done with largemouth. I don't know if it's been done this way with smallmouth or not, but it's certainly been done with largemouth. If we had a small lined pond, which means there's no dirt, no gravels for them to spawn on, we just put out some benches and some artificial spawning
Literally,
mats.
they look like benches to hide under, right?
Exactly,
We put them on some of our lakes.
Exactly,
You can see 'em.
yeah. Just take a concrete center block and a slab of wood over top of that, and then we've got these artificial spawning mats that we made, and we just slide that mat under the bench.
Which have little rocks like in the middle of it.
Yeah,
Right?
I actually glued little rocks on them. Largemouth, they're not as picky, but smallmouth, everything just has to be just
Have
right.
that
So
pebble. Yeah.
So I thought, well, I'll just try this, and sure enough, when we put them in there, a week later, I was kind of surprised at what we were seeing. So
Watch that video we put out. It's cool seeing these fry.
but yeah, we put the mats out, let the brood spawn on them, and then I get in there with my waders on, and I rob the mats from them, and I'll replace the spawn mats with a fresh one. And I actually had several benches. I had 3 or 4 spawns on. A lot of people don't know that, bass don't release all their eggs at once, or what you call a partial ovulator. Where they'll, one female, she may release some eggs, and then 2, 3, 4 days later, a week later, come in and release more eggs. So I think I was getting the same female releasing multiple times. And, it's good for the intensive side of it, because you just keep replacing the mats with fresh ones, and you can bring more eggs in the building.
Keep making fry. Baby
And
smallmouth.
that's what we were doing, is just so we were bringing the mats in the building and let the eggs hatch, and then that way you've got a known number of fry that you're going to stock into a pond. And that's what Humboldt was here. They're coming to get the fry to rear out in their ponds.
They'll make them bigger. They'll go with the fingerling size of Humboldt.
Exactly.
You're not set up necessarily to do that here, or just
I'm set up here, but we just don't have the space. We've got
Oh.
everything filled up
Already
with
filled
other
up.
species, but
Let me ask you, I probably should hit that first, Roger, but Springfield Hatchery, is it the oldest hatchery in Tennessee, or the oldest state hatchery in Tennessee, maybe?
I think it's between us and maybe Flintville.
Yeah, which was a
know-
federal hatchery originally, years ago. Yeah.
I know Irwin's pretty old too, but we're right there. If we're not the oldest, we're the next in line.
And how many ponds on Springfield Hatchery?
We've got 12 production ponds, and then we've got a 2-acre reservoir that we utilize as a zooplankton and water source throughout the year.
So you're creating food in there. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. But we will actually stock that pond last and use it as a production. So technically 13-ish production ponds.
So going through the year, from very early in the year, I know y'all start collecting the hatcheries, or at least the fisheries crews go out and collect, I think, walleye and sauger real early in the year. Is that the first thing you produce and what order would it go? What are you doing first, and what do you end in October with?
Yeah, we'll start out with our walleye and sauger, and we'll spawn those in the building and rear those out. And then we'll stock our ponds, and that's usually a 40-day production period. But during that, like right now, we're in that production period now. Our ponds have been stocked for a couple weeks. During that time, we're also stocking, like today, we got Florida strain largemouth coming in, so we'll be doing that. We'll have hybrid striped bass coming in as well, so we'll do that. Once that first crop of walleye and sauger, we harvest those here in 2 or 3 weeks. We immediately refill those same ponds, refertilize, and we come in with striped bass.
So the fish farmer's double cropping.
It's exactly what it is, double cropping. Yeah,
Okay.
we double crop almost everything here.
So in the middle of summer, you have stripers and hybrids out here.
Yes.
And when do the crappie go in?
The crappie, this year we're doing what you call a transfer, which Normandy Hatchery, they've got the crappie brood in ponds right now, and
okay.
they will actually harvest those ponds in May, I believe, and they will bring me fingerlings, and I will put them on a fresh pond, a double crop pond.
Okay.
So they're kind of doing the same idea as what I'm doing with smallmouth. They're getting those fingerlings off away from the brood earlier, to where we can get them in a pond by themselves, and they do pretty good that way.
Is there some thought that when you keep them in with the brood fish that there's some their cannibalization going on? Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, and I've played around a little bit. We've had brood production ponds here before too, meaning that we put brood in and leave them in for the whole season. And crappie, we don't harvest crappie till the fall, so they're in a long time. The brood are in with them for several months, and I've played around. We try to put a trap net out and get the brood away from the fingerlings, and I've done that, and I've seen some kind of anecdotal evidence that it has an effect when you get brood away from the young. I mean, the fish don't care; they'll eat their young. They're brutal.
They're just fish. They're going to eat something.
Yeah.
But everything but the lures I throw at them for some reason.
Not holding your mouth right.
I'm gonna go fishing with Roger. Anyway, Roger. So it's an intensive job. If there's a time of year when a fish hatchery manager can get away from it all, what time of year is that?
It's winter.
It is.
I mean, it's very seasonal. I mean, you always say you go from nothing to 90 and then 90 to nothing, but during the sauger production and walleye production, and right now, I mean, I've had 70-hour work weeks. And then in the winter, I build so much comp time up now that I take off, in the winter, and then we try to catch up on our maintenance and just get ready for the next season. But I get to do a lot of deer hunting. I don't get to fish as much as I'd like to, but I get to do a lot of deer hunting.
Yeah, well, there's at least something good about it.
It's a trade-off.
It owns you for a while, and then you
Yep.
get to take a little bit of time off. What do y'all do as far as once the fish is ready to go? How large in a warm water hatchery, like what everybody's seeing behind us, how large do the fish normally get on average? And where do you determine where they go, and how do you get everything ready to go?
Well, we determine where they go based on the allocation.
The biologists getting together and talking about what a lake needs?
Right. So,
okay.
They'll say, well, Old Hickory needs X number of sauger, X number of walleye, X number of striped bass, or Center Hill needs X number of smallmouth, or, Watts Bar needs X number of Florida strain bass. I mean, we get that before the season starts. So all that's predetermined before we start everything up. I think the only thing that's adjustable there is our crappie, and that's because the reservoir biologists do their crappie sampling in the fall.
Oh, right.
So
right.
We kind of do a play it by ear with that species, but everything else is predetermined. But to prepare a pond, I mean, we start bringing them up several days before we stock the fry. We fertilize them with soybean meal.
Are they naturally, is the water from a spring, or how do you fill these things up?
Yeah, it's from a spring over here.
Are most of them spring fed? All the hatcheries somewhere?
No, some of them are spring, some of them are just creek fed.
Okay.
Some of them are tailwater, like Normandy
That's
Hatchery.
right. Normandy's out of Normandy Dam. Normandy Lake. Yeah.
Eagle Bend, they're Clinch River, which is North tailwater, water source. So it's kind of variable. I'm not sure Flintville if they're spring or a creek, but
you just don't fill them up with it like you would a swimming pool, right? It's a house with your didn't have to chlorinate it.
Yeah,
okay.
it's a process.
And getting the water temperature is probably one of the issues that you have sometimes.
Our water temperature, it's cool. We're at like 58 degrees at our spring, which but it heats up pretty quick in these black liners. Temperature is not really so much important as you just want to pay attention to your oxygen and stuff.
Okay.
Make sure
they can see a paddle wheel going in the background back there where that's a way of getting oxygen in, and sometimes you tell me oxygen out.
Yeah. Actually, that pond we actually had high DO and which is dissolved oxygen. A lot of people don't know is there's such a thing as too much oxygen for a fish, and there is in a pond environment. So you just each pond too is its own animal. I mean, you can fertilize a pond, bring it up at the same time, have the same recipe on one. They're the identical size pond and side by side, and they behave differently. So I don't really have an explanation for that.
Well, and I noticed the black liners that are in them. It seems like when I started years ago, they would have problems in these ponds when they'd go to harvest the fish, harvesting thousands and thousands of crayfish when they did it too. Is that what the liners are for, to keep critters out, or what's the idea?
Well, it makes it's a lot easier to manipulate your water and your fertilization with a line pond, and that was improvements that were done here several years back. And you use less fertilizer because the soil's not a natural buffer for that fertilizer, so it's easier to get a good bloom and get the zooplankton, which is what our fish feed off of, the fish that don't take a pellet feed. It just makes it a lot easier, and they're a lot cleaner.
Okay. I noticed the cold water hatcheries, like Football Hatchery, where they're raising trout every day. They go out and they throw them a bunch of food, and they come up and bust the water. Mm-hmm. That doesn't go on here. You don't throw food out. It's all naturally produced.
No, it does with striped bass and hybrids, and we train them. But all fish here are reared on zooplankton, which is the microscopic organisms in the water that they need, the bugs that the small fish need to survive. So when we fertilize with the soybean meal, that's what the zooplankton comes out of that.
Okay.
But striped bass and hybrids, they will feed on zooplankton to a certain stage, and then we'll start feeding them. We've got a utility vehicle that we run around. We blow food out in a blower, and they will actually get trained to feed, just like trout or catfish or anything else. And it will come to a point, halfway through the production of stripers and hybrids, when they'll hear the utility vehicle, and you can see them making a little beeline at the top of the water. So it's pretty neat.
Time to eat. Yeah, that's cool.
They learn quick.
And I think I interrupted you too, Roger.
Go ahead.
The size of fish generally when they leave here, people aren't going to go catch them that day.
Oh no. These, depending on the species, we go by, in the hatchery system, by number per pound, which I know that doesn't mean anything to average person, but anywhere from 1.5 inch fish to 3 inch, stripers and hybrids, we've got them up to 3 inches or bigger. But on average, I'm gonna say 2 inch fingerling.
Numbers game then. They're not all going to live, are they? Up to the size where the fisherman can take them home.
Right. It's I think there's a threshold with some species where numbers versus size, and that's always a hard question to answer. Is what's better, more of a smaller size or less of a larger size?
Right.
And I think
can see that.
There is a threshold there on some stuff. But like last year with our striped bass, we did some things here that we got on a different food, and we did some things to get to inoculate our ponds to have better zooplankton, to where we get a better size striper. So our numbers really didn't drop that much, but our size of stripers doubled. And
wow.
Our reservoir biologist already said that they saw those fish that we stocked. They were already showing up.
Okay, so you're saying if you're trying to figure out that threshold where they're not so big they start eating each other, but they're big enough they survive when they hit the reservoirs.
Right.
Have a chance anyway of not being eaten.
And there's some, like walleye and sauger, you just can't hang, and even Florida strain bass, you can't, once you're out of zooplankton because those are zooplankton reared species. Once you're out of zooplankton in the pond, you got to move them, because they'll turn on each other quick.
Oh, they will.
Yeah. So sometimes it's just the food kind of drives everything with that.
Wow.
So even in the pond, it's better to be bigger, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
You have the bigger mouth. You can go after and go ahead.
When these ponds are full, do you run into to predators? Do you have to have problems with that, with birds or any other kind of predator?
Yeah, occasionally they show up. We try to run them off best we can, but give me something to knock on. I don't want another problem here. Luckily we don't have a whole lot of problems. There's other hatcheries that deal with, like Eagle Bend has otter problems really bad, and an otter can wipe a pond out quick. But luckily I haven't had too much trouble out of that here. So
all right. How many fish are y'all producing in a year? Just
it varies. I think last year we were, around 700,000. Anywhere from 500,000 to 1 million fingerlings.
It's a lot of fish.
Yeah.
And load them in hatchery trucks like you would anything else, and take them to wherever they're going.
Exactly.
Are y'all the delivery folks for all of the fish too? No, you raise them, but do you deliver them also?
Yeah, everything here we deliver. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do y'all do a lot of sharing? I know Humboldt Hatchery was here today.
Mm-hmm.
And do y'all work a lot with each other?
Yeah.
On different.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the hatchery system in a whole, you know, I don't know the cold water guys. I'm not too familiar with their system, but us warm water guys, we definitely, you know, we exchange fry, you know, whatever we can to help each other out. I think Eagle Bend was here last week and got some surplus sauger fry that we had, and you know, giving Humboldt these smallmouth, and we go, and Normandy Hatchery produces walleye fry for me, and striped bass as well from Normandy and Eagle Bend. So yeah, we do a lot of exchanging, try to help each other out as a whole.
Okay, all right. And eventually do all these ponds, will they all be dry as winter comes and you get to go deer season, or do y'all keep deer hunting, or do y'all keep the water up?
No, we try to, once fall gets here and we do our last harvest, which will be crappie, would be the last thing that goes out. We try to leave them dry and let them wash out for the winter.
Yeah.
So
that last pond goes down, is that big dinner night?
Yeah, it's you can hear the cannons going off. Big sigh of relief.
I'm deer hunting. Here I come. Here I come deer hunting camp.
Exactly.
You get to sleep for a few hours now.
Yep.
Which deer hunting. Roger, what are some of the problems you face? You've named a couple of them, but what's something that most of us wouldn't think about that Roger's up doing or worrying about or pacing around?
Oh gosh. Especially here. I mean, this hatchery, for as old as it is, it's kind of amazing that what we can still produce here. I mean, there's a lot of infrastructure issues. I mean, probably more so here than some of the other more modern hatcheries. I mean, always having a pipe bust, or you know, the pond liners leaking, or the kettles, the old concrete kettles here. You know, you're patching hydraulic cement to feel like the little Dutch boy with his thumb in the dam here sometimes. But
it's amazing what a two-member team does here. Because and then inside the building that's sitting, y'all can't see it, it's right in front of us. Roger's got this maze of pipes going anywhere to help them produce stuff in the building versus out here before they get out here.
You learn to be a jack of all trades pretty quick. If you're not coming into it, you will be going out of it.
Plumber, mechanic, carpenter, all the above.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, just the maintenance part is a big deal here. But you know, oxygen, that's probably one of the most important things we got to watch in all of our ponds. And like I said, I mean, you can have low oxygen, high oxygen simultaneously in the same ponds that you filled up, and you know, had the same recipe. So
do you have to walk around and do a DO study on every pond every day?
Yeah, every morning I can get up and check DOs once we get them stocked. And usually this time of year is not too bad. It's just you know, we just had some crazy weather recently, and you get a lot of cloudy days like we got today that suppresses that phytoplankton, where you don't really get that oxygen. And the rain too, as much rain as we've been having lately, it's that suppresses it too. So it's kind of each year's its own challenge. But you know, when I got fish in the building, it's hard for me to sleep at night. I mean, I lay there, well, do I need to go check on this, or do I need to check on that? And
I guess there's got to be some pressure on you, because so many people are relying on you. Just because this hatchery's in Middle Tennessee doesn't mean fish aren't going to West or East Tennessee, right? I mean,
it's statewide. I mean, we've got allocations statewide from here. So yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I enjoy what I do. I take pride in it, and I guess I sometimes may put a little more pressure on myself just because of that, but that's why we got into it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah, it's a big job, and as much as you're raising here, you combine that with all the hatcheries across the state, you're talking about millions and millions of fish that get stocked every year in Tennessee. And what's the big difference? We don't have the cold water hatchery with us so they can see, but if you're looking at ponds here, what would you look at a cold water hatchery?
Cold water hatchery would be like a series of raceways and trout, and they would feed the fish. There's not really a fertilizer process or anything like that.
They got it made. They got it easy.
Yeah.
No problem.
They do. They got it easy.
Yeah. All right, Roger. Thank you for your time.
No problem.
You do a great job. I look forward to deer season for you.
Thanks.
I'm going to
Thanks.
go fishing, though, okay?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, maybe Roger will take his fishing and show us how to catch a fish.
Roger knows how to catch fish.
We've had a lot of offers here lately. We just need to take them up on them.
Yeah. All right, Roger Bitz has been our guest. Thank you, Roger. Thank you,
Thank
Zach.
you.
Yeah.
Great job. You did a great job.
Good
Come
job,
back
Zach.
sometime.
Hey, you can watch this show at TNWildlife.org, or we're listening right there. So just keep coming back. We're out there all the time. And
All the shows are always out there.
check out our social media, too. Thank y'all.